Okay, we're looking at LSAT 64. This is October of 2011, LSAT Logic Game 1. An administrator must assign parking spaces to 6 new employees, R, S, T, V, X, and Y. Each of the 6 employees must be assigned one of the following parking spaces, numbered 1 through 6. No 2 employees can be assigned the same parking space. The following rules govern the assignment of parking spaces. Okay, so what we know right now is we have 6 people, we have 6 spots. It's an absolute sequential game. The only question in my mind at this point would be whether or not there's any grouping aspects to the game. So, in other words, if the parking spaces had some sort of defining characteristics, like they had different colored paint, or one was a carport parking space or otherwise, then there would be a grouping aspect to it. So these are questions that we're constantly wanting to know, but as of right now we have a 1-for-1 correspondence. It's numbered 1 through 6, and all we can think of is that it's a sequential game. Okay, let's take a look at the rules. Y must be assigned to a higher numbered parking space than T. Okay, so the difficulty in this game is the lower number parking spots are obviously on the left, 1 through 6. So it's kind of looking like this. I normally do not number. I use this vertical line to just intuitively tell myself, you know, this is 3, this is 4. But this game is intuitively awkward because typically when we think of higher, we think of better, and better normally is on the left. In this particular game, there is no real better, okay? There is no first place. So really what we're talking about is higher numbered is actually going to the right. So this game turns things on its ear a little bit and is very confusing, so you have to be extremely careful when dealing with this game. That's why I will put the numbers, and again, I put them up top. I do not put them down below. I will never put numbers down below, because if I have to make another scenario, it becomes wholly redundant to, you know, then write numbers again and again and again. Again, if you put the numbers here, you can work all the way down and see what you've got, okay? All right, so Y must be assigned a higher number parking space than T. Y is higher numbered than T, so T must occur before Y. X must be assigned a higher numbered parking space than S. As such, S must occur before X. R must be assigned a higher numbered parking space than Y. Y must occur before R. And then R must be assigned a parking space numbered 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, R is 1 through 4. As always, we want to utilize the hierarchy of rules to solve the scenarios. If we don't get a first order rule and we don't get a second order rule, it's unlikely that we can solve the scenarios. So recall that a first order rule just says XYZ variable is placed in spot 2. A second order rule says X and Y have to be placed next to one another. We don't really have anything like that in this game. What we have is a bunch of third order rules. Things occur before other things, okay? And then we really have a rule telling us that there's a range. All right, but what we do have is the notion that T must occur before Y, must occur before R, and R can't go past spot 4. So really this is a 3-4 distribution, and you should really just know how to do this off the top of your head. If we start with T, Y, and R, and we move down T, Y, and R, T, Y, and R, and then T, Y, and R. So on a 3-4 distribution where all variables, where we know the inherent order of the variables, there's only 4 things that can happen. You should be able to knock that out really, really quickly. What we're left with, okay, so we have basically taken care of this rule, and this rule. What we're left with is S must occur before X, and then we have a V. Okay, I could flesh this out. I could put S here, and S here, and S here, and S here, and turn this into 8 scenarios and get a better feel of what's going on, but it's really unnecessary. I just need to keep in my mind that S must occur before X, and then I have a V, which is basically floating around, okay? All right, let's go to the questions and see what we've got. Which one of the following could be the assignment of parking spaces to the new employees? All right, so this is a list question. We want to go through all of the rules and apply them to each answer choice, and the answer choice that violates the rule is excluded. The last answer choice standing is obviously the correct answer to the question. So if we look at the first rule, T must actually occur before Y. If you look at A, T occurs after Y, so A is eliminated. The second rule says S must occur before X. If you look at C, S occurs after X, so C is eliminated. If you look at the third rule, Y must occur before R, you have R occurring before Y in D, so D is eliminated. And then the last rule, R must occur between 1 through 4. If you look at B, R occurs in 5. That's eliminated. As such, E is the correct answer to the question. Let's look at 2. If T is assigned a higher numbered parking space than S, then which one of the following could be true? Okay, so where could that happen? It could only happen in this scenario. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got basically 4 scenario templates. No matter what this game does, it can only happen from here. All right, so what we do is we take a look. We need a situation where T is higher than S. T is first in every one except for the last one. So if we did this, okay, that's the way it would look. And now we're dealing with V and X. V can go anywhere, so we're just left with an option. All right. So which one of the following could be true? A, Y is assigned to space 2. That cannot be true. B, V is assigned to space 5. That absolutely could be true. V could be in either 5 or 6. As such, B is the correct answer to the question. Let's look at C, though. T is assigned to space 3. That cannot be true. It has to be Y. S is assigned to space 2. That cannot be true. It has to be T. And then E, R is assigned to parking space 3. That cannot be true. Y must be assigned to parking space 3. So we've proven that B is the correct answer to the question. Let's look at 3. The assignment of parking spaces to each of the new employees is fully and uniquely determined if which one of the following is true. Okay, this is seemingly difficult because it's kind of asking you to step outside of the box a bit. All you need to ascertain is when you go through these scenario templates, if only one thing can happen, that's the answer to the question. If you can find from the answer choice given that more than one thing can happen, that's not the answer to the question. So let's look at A. S is assigned to space 1. Well, if I put S here, what happens? And we've actually got this from this example. We have an option with V and X. So 2 things can happen. As such, that's not the correct answer. If I place S here, I've got 2 possibilities. That is not the answer to the question. Let's look at B. Y is assigned to parking space 2. Take a look at here. Scenarios 1 and 2, that happens. So at least 2 things happen, really quite a bit more. So that cannot be the answer. It's not your job to figure out how many things can happen. You just want to know if more than one thing can happen. In this case, more than one thing can happen. Therefore, that's not the answer to the question. Let's look at C. V is assigned to parking space 3. Right here, if I were to place V here, okay, that gets rid of this. What am I left with? S has to occur before X. If V is assigned to parking space 3, only one thing can happen. V is here. There's only one possibility, scenario 2, and then that means S has to occur before X. Therefore, C is the correct answer to the question. Let's keep going, though. Let's look at D. R is assigned to space 4. Look, 3 different things can happen plus whatever else. So that cannot be the answer to the question. And then E. X is assigned to space 5. Well, X could literally, there's 4 different places that X could go down right here as long as we add S here. So that there's at least 4 things that can happen. Therefore, that is not the answer to the question either. As such, C is the correct answer to the question. Let's look at 4. For how many of the 6 new employees is the assignment of a parking space limited to one of only 2 possible spaces? So all it's really asking us is for how many variables can only occur in 2 spots. Well, let's start with T. Okay, we've got T can only occur in 2 spots, so I'll put T here. Y can only occur in 2 spots. R can only occur in 2 spots. Now, what's left over? We have T, Y, and R. Let's take a look at, if we look at S. Okay, S has to occur before X. Well, S can go all the way across, so S can go up to 4 different spots as long as X is here. So S cannot be. Let's take a look at X. X could not go in any one of these spaces. X can only go in 5 and 6. So X is in. Okay, and then let's take a look at V. Well, V can go anywhere. V could go here as long as S was before X and all the way up, so V is out. As such, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 variables that can only go in 2 spots. D is the correct answer to the question. Now let's look at 5. If Y is assigned a higher numbered parking space than S, then which one of the following could be true? Okay, so we just have to ask ourselves, where does that happen? It can happen in scenarios 3 and 4, and I'll go ahead and bring them down. Okay, and Y is occurring before S, and then we just need to ask ourselves what can happen. Well, we can do Vx, xv. Okay, that's all that can happen where S it occurs before Y, or Y is assigned to a higher parking space than S. So let's take a look at the questions. Which one of the following could be true? A, T is assigned a parking space 1. Absolutely, that can happen. That is the correct answer to the question. Let's look at B. Y is assigned to parking space 2. That cannot be true. It has to be parking space 3 for Y. C, R is assigned to space 3. Well, as we've said, Y must occur there. D, S is assigned to space 3. Again, Y has to be there. I might have just said that. Let's look at E. V is assigned to parking space 4. That cannot be true. R has to be there. As such, we know again that A is the correct answer to the question. 6. If R is assigned to parking space 3, then which one of the following must be true? The only place that that can happen is here. Okay? And because it's asking us what must be true, the fact that we don't have these variables filled in typically indicates that we don't need to fill these in unless it's kind of like an open-ended must be true. By and large, you're going to find the answers here. So let's take a look. Which one of the following must be true? S is assigned to space 4. Well, we know that S could go in 4 or 5. T is assigned to space 2. It has to be in 1. C, V is assigned to 5. V could actually occur in 4, 5, or 6. D, X is assigned to space 6. X could go in 6 or 5. And then E, Y is assigned to 2. That absolutely must be true. Our scenario templates tell us what must be true unless they ask some sort of open-ended question like S must occur in 4 or 5. Then, yeah, absolutely. If it gives us more than one variable location, our scenario template will not tell us that. One last note. If you wanted to solve the scenarios in this game, you would have ended up with 8 templates. I'm moving away a little bit from completely solving scenarios and trying to work a little more intuitively. It would not be a bad thing if you solved this logic game. I'll just put it that way. If you were quick at distribution, you could solve this out extremely quickly. Okay, that concludes Logic Game 1, LSAT 64, October of 2011.